Hello, I had a bit of a run-in with somebody on Twitter today, and this is not the first time that the question of what causes bottom-up obstruction, and according to flat earthers, it seems to be waves. I don't think that even the most hardcore flat earther will deny the fact that there is, in fact, bottom-up obstruction. There are clearly many photographs that show that there is bottom-up obstruction. The only question is what can cause it. Since flat earthers categorically reject a spherical earth, they have to find some other means, and in this case, they're thinking it has to be waves. So I thought I was going to build this very small, simple little spreadsheet. I'm going to make it available. Look at the description below for a link where you can get a copy. So let's look at several possibilities. If you're on one side of a body of water looking across at an object on the other side, whether it's a boat, whether it is a distant city skyline object, there's going to be a certain portion of the object that you're looking at that will be obscured. If it is waves, as some people suggest that it is, then we can apply some very simple geometry to calculate what the height of the swells would be at any given point between the observer and the object, and that is what this spreadsheet is supposed to resolve. I've marked the cells that you can enter in yellow here. So I put the observer height, in this case at an arbitrary 10 meters above the water, looking out at a distance of about 50.8 kilometers to the distant object. In this case, I decided to model this photograph that somebody over here decided to take a picture of the Chicago skyline, and according to Google, the distance is going to be about that much as the crow flies. So the next question is roughly how much of the skyline is going to be visible versus not visible. The object height I put at 105 meters above the surface of the water with a very simple formula of about roughly 3.5 meters per floor times more or less about 30 floors for the average building. And let's say 20 out of those 30 floors are invisible due to obstruction by water. How high would the swells have to be at varying distances? So I divided the distance up into 100 different segments, and the swell distance is going to be the total times this, represented as a fraction. The required swell height is simple geometry. You subtract the observer height from the obstructed height to get a difference. In this case, it's going to be about 60 meters. And then you divide that by the total distance to the object, which gives you your slope. And then you multiply that by the distance to that particular swell or that particular wave along the water between the observer and the object. And then you add the observer height back on, and that is going to give you the required swell height in order to obstruct that distance here. As you can see, it's fairly linear from observer to object. So the real question that flat earthers would have to answer in this case is, are the swell heights consistent? If, in the case of looking across a lake, are the waves the same height halfway as they are near one shore or the other shore? In other words, do the swells have to look like this? Or do the swells look like this? Or do we choose something completely absurd like a single point column somewhere between the observer and the object? Maybe somebody who's been out to sea can answer this, but I would say that even the roughest swells in the middle of the ocean would never even get to about 30 or 40 meters high. And if you find yourself on a lake with swells that are 70 meters high, I'm sure just about anybody would be tossing their cookies. Of course, the other possibility is that the Earth is a globe. whether the Earth really is flat or not, and whether waves happen to be the explanation for things disappearing from the bottom up or not, it's fairly clear that if you gain altitude, you can see more and more that was previously obstructed. So if it's waves doing it, then on a calm day, the entirety of the Chicago skyline should be visible. And then, of course, the other far more likely explanation is that the Earth is an oblate spheroid and that we don't have to do all of this silliness and everything just works out. So that's going to be it for this week. Thank you for watching. And if you like the video, I would appreciate feeding the YouTube algorithm monster. And I will see you again in another video soon enough. So bye for now.